Hey guys, today I want to talk about divorce. It's a topic that surprisingly comes up quite a bit when I'm talking with my clients. I wanted to share some of my insights with you. I have clients who are separated and getting a divorce, clients who have recently been divorced. Maybe they've got alimony to a spouse or from a spouse, dealing with kids, retirement plans, a lot of other different things. Or sometimes clients who are on their second and third marriages. And so I want to talk to you guys a little bit about divorce and how it really plays into clients' overall plans, because it's something that it costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of time and energy and effort to do, but it is important to a lot of people. When you are in a relationship where the relationship is no longer about give and take, it all becomes about take and there never seems to be any give. We take a look at those other hardships and costs and realize that we just have to pay them because it's worth it to get out of it. So it's something that I talk with a lot of my clients about. Sometimes I'll talk with them through that process of divorce and say, hey, here's the things we need to take a look at. As a matter of fact, it's something that in many cases I recommend to my clients on a regular basis. Because in a relationship, if it's not mutually beneficial, and it's not about give and take, it's only about take, then it's something we've got to do. So often I recommend divorce to my clients, but not from their spouse. When I take a look at the relationships that they're in, we see the relationship where they're getting the most taken and the least given is typically to the IRS. One of the conversations I'm having with them is that, look, the IRS is taking your money, and what are you personally getting for it? Typically, they're giving it elsewhere, and you don't have any say in how that money's spent. So what we take a look at is, look, it's only going to get worse. Just like my clients' marriage relationships, at a certain point, we have to say enough is enough. We want to divorce them. Right? We want to get rid of that relationship. We'll pay whatever it costs now to have them not in the future. Because here's the truth, guys. When it comes to the IRS and taxes, we're at an 80-year low historically. You take a look at the historical tax rates for most middle-income Americans and even high-income Americans. We're at an 80-year low historically. And those tax rates are already guaranteed to go up in 2026. But that's just a very little bit. When you take a look at the overspending on coronavirus, debt, Social Security, all the government programs that they're wanting to do, and all these other types of programs, that's one of the biggest problems we're dealing with, is the fact that this relationship is going to get a lot worse. And you can ask anybody, you probably agree that taxes you think are probably going to be higher in the future. So if taxes are going to be higher in the future than they are now, wouldn't you rather pay them now than later? That's why I talk to my clients about divorcing the IRS. Getting that relationship gone, paying whatever it costs now. Sometimes I talk to them about hundreds of thousands of dollars we pay in taxes just to get rid of Uncle Sam. But then all of our money is able to grow tax-free. We're able to pull it out tax-free in our retirement or even earlier than our retirement to make sure that it stays protected, and we no longer have that relationship where they have control over what we do with our money, when we're allowed to touch it, and what we're able to do. This is one of those conversations that a lot of people aren't even aware is an option, right? They're just saying, well, I've been saving in my 401k or IRA forever. And 401ks and IRAs are fantastic vehicles. We want to be able to use those. As a matter of fact, if you do it correctly, you can take money out of your 401ks and IRAs and pay no taxes if you understand how to do it correctly. But you have to make sure that you understand those systems and the tax codes that are in place. Honestly, guys, most of the tax code is not about paying taxes. There's something like 15,000 pages of tax code, like 300 of them are about taxes you have to pay and what you're paying. All the rest of them are about how to avoid paying taxes. All we're doing is using the tax codes that are written, showing us how we're able to minimize that overall tax bill so that we're able to not have to pay taxes in the future legally. Now, here's the thing. We're not saying that paying taxes is bad and you shouldn't do it. We're just saying that you shouldn't have to pay more than you're required to. And if you feel that you want to pay more taxes than you're required to, the government does accept donations. And importantly, those specific donations, you can then dictate how that money's spent. Several years ago, I had a great calendar. Every single day you pull it off, and it talked about a place where the government had spent tax dollars. It talked about wasted plane flights and other things. Some of my favorite days that were on there, one was talked about the fact that $15 million was spent on research grants on a study that was done on how snakes reacted to robotic squirrels. $15 million. That's all the tax dollars you will probably ever pay in your life, and all the friends that you know will actually pay in their entire life went to fund that research. Or economic stimulus for Brazil. They spent $1 million on pottery lessons in Brazil. So if you take all the taxes you're likely to pay in your lifetime, they sent that to Brazil to give them to people who are doing pottery lessons. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that might not be the choice that you choose to spend your tax dollars on. So if you feel there's a cause that you want and you don't have to give taxes to Uncle Sam because you've already paid those taxes in advance, then you can decide what are the causes that you feel are important. And if you feel they're important, you can donate directly to them. Perhaps you're a big believer in, police forces or firefighters. You can donate that money directly to that state government, that firefighter organization or whatever, to make sure that all of those dollars go where you want them to. And you're able to vote manually on every single dollar you give, as opposed to just putting your dollars in a big pool and they go to a lot of places some other people decide on. This is why, guys, it's so important to understand the power you have to make choices, not just in your personal relationships, in your marriage relationships, but in your financial relationships with Uncle Sam, with the IRS, and your ability to choose how you do taxes, and that you can divorce the IRS. There are tools and resources that we show clients every day on how to be able to actually protect their assets, where they're able to keep their money in places where it grows tax-free, they can access it tax-free, and regardless of what happens to tax codes in the future, they will never have to pay taxes again. So a lot of people will ask questions about, oh, hey, well, what about my match? What about my employer plans? All those things are fantastic. We're not saying any of those things are bad. Those things are all great. We just want to make sure you understand how to use them and that they agree with your beliefs. Because some people will say, well, it's actually better to save tax deferred, and tax deferral is great. We love tax deferral. But the conversation becomes, look, if taxes are even 1% higher in the future, it's better to be in a tax-free environment than a tax-later environment. A lot of people say, oh, they come out, they're different. You're better off getting the IRA and the matches first. If you actually do the math, if taxes stay exactly the same, it doesn't matter whether you defer taxes or whether you pay taxes now and it's tax-free in the future. But if taxes go up even 1% in the future, if you believe taxes are going to go up 1% in the future, then it makes sense to put as much of your money into the tax-free structures as possible. And if you already have a lot of money in IRAs and 401ks, you need to know the exact dollar amount you're allowed to keep there and pull it out tax-free. And all the money above and beyond that, you need to be shifting into other strategies through divorcing the IRA. And if necessary, pay them those divorce costs, get rid of that alimony, pay them up front so that you never have to worry about having them in your life for the rest of your life. And also, when you leave that money behind to your kids, you're not leaving it to your kids at the worst possible times when they're the highest paying careers because they're getting older in age, right? They're now at the highest peak of their careers, taxes are higher, and they suddenly inherit that money, and that goes on top of their income, pushing them into the highest tax brackets. Guys, divorcing the IRS is one of the most important things that you need to learn about. Most advisors aren't talking about this. What they're talking about is give me your money, I will take care of it. I've got this cool mutual fund, I've got this cool 401k, I've got this cool stock account, whatever. Let's put your money in and it's going to grow to a really big number. But it's not about what you make. It's about what you get to keep. So we need to make plans to make sure you get to keep that money and that Uncle Sam doesn't get to vote and say, you know what? Originally, it was only 24% of your account was mine, but I overspent a little bit, so now 40% of your account is mine, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you knew the stock market was going to go down, you'd want to get out of the way. Well, we know for a fact taxes are going to go up. We know the exact date and time. So if you know taxes are going to go up, wouldn't you want to get out of the way?